Welcome everyone. My name is Lisa. I'm with Queen Bee Creations. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator here today to show you how to make a card. It's always my intention to take something a little different and make it look fun and easy. And feel free to ask questions. I encourage you, if you're here watching, to comment and interact. That helps us get seen out there. And today's card is going to be made using the Snail Mail Suite, which is the Snailed It bundle. And it's a little bit of a swing card, nothing too difficult. It's really fairly simple. And I even haven't really cut out all my parts yet. So we're going to get to play with the new mini cut and emboss machine. You can see my big one back there, the little tiny one. So we're going to be using that today because there's a little bit of a trick on lining up the plates. Let me get you down to my desk. So this is today's card. Like I said, it's using the Snailed It bundle as part of the Snail Mail Suite. And what a suite is a whole bunch of products that work together. For those of you who are looking for things to coordinate, again, that's my favorite thing about Stampin' Up, is that everything matches. If you were to get Bermuda Bay cardstock and they use Bermuda Bay in their DSP, and then you get ink, it's all going to be the same shade. It's all going to interact very well. Like I said, this suite would consist of everything you see on this page. You would get the bundle, the twine, the elements, and the DSP all for this one number over here. So if you ever want to order something in a suite, you're ensured that everything's going to coordinate. But we're with Stampin' Up, so things coordinate, right? That's why we're here. This is the card we're making today, but the other day when I had everything out, I made a couple other cards. You've probably seen them on my blog. They've been posted recently. I'll also show you how we did this little envelope. And then this guy's die cut out of the Designer Series paper. Did you know that you can cut directly out of the Designer Series paper using some of our dies? I love it when they do that for us. Today's card, like I said, we're starting out with this one here. So I have cut my base 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 2 1/8, and then again at 4 1/4. So basically I took the front of the card and then I just folded it in half. So 2 1/8, 4 1/4. Then because we're going to layer over that, I'm going to put this piece on here, which is 2 inches by 5 3/8, which means the next one will be 1 7/8 by 5 1/4. Inside the card, we're going to have 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and then 4 inch by 5 1/4. And then, like I said, we're going to die cut out our circles and we'll cut out the DSP. I did mention that it comes with Designer Series paper that coordinates. You can see I've played around with some of this already, got lots of little pieces, but they all coordinate with the little snail and mushroom theme. And I love that. But then again, on the other side, they've made it kind of generic. So even if you weren't into snails and mushrooms, you could always use the other side. And like I said, the die cuts that come with it, we'll cut some of these guys out. There they go. Here we go. So let's see which ones they are. It's not that one. Oh, come on. I know I did this. I lined it up the other day. Here we go. I don't know if you can see close up, but that just ran right through and cut out the snail. And for my card, I actually cut him out twice. I cut him out once in the Designer Series paper, but then I cut him out again on some cardstock so that he was a little thicker. So before I put him on here with a Stampin' Dimensional, there's another piece of Bermuda Bay cardstock behind him. So it just made him more stable. And so that's kind of a tip. If you're wanting to use Designer Series paper as your element, then you might want to put the same size, same cutout of cardstock behind the Designer Series paper so that he is much more sturdy. So again, like I said, lots of fun designs. I'm going to pull in this one. Instead of using the little postage stamps, I'm going to use some snails. And like I said, I want that because this was 2 1/8 was the score line. So 2 inches even is the Bermuda Bay. So this is 1 7/8. And so we're just working by the little tick mark. So it's in between the lines. Each line is done at 1/4. And so in between the lines is 1/8. And then I'm going to go this way. Again, our card is 5 1/2. So it's 5 3/8 and then 5 1/4. So this one's going to be 5 1/4. And then with the 1/8 inch border, I find the easiest way to get those adhered is by using liquid adhesive because it gives you that little wiggle room that I talk about quite often. It allows you to put your piece down and still maneuver it a little bit. So once I get it on there, I can slide it around and make sure I'm perfectly centered before it really takes hold and grabs. This one, I'm going to make sure that we stamp first. We'll bring in the Memento ink. Okay, these are the cling mounted stamps, and so they are very sticky on the back. I took the labels off. I do adhere the labels to my stamps. I like to be able to look on the other side and know what I'm stamping and know that my words are the right direction. But then I take the piece that had the labels on it and I adhere it to the plastic liner. And so that just gives me the space so I know which stamps might be missing, but they stick direct to the case. And then anytime I have extra spare parts, I usually have a clear envelope in the inside where I store them. So that's why there's floaties in there. Yes, making sure the set is complete before I put it away has been one of my main purposes in having little holes on where things go. It was very important when the grandkids were here because they got into my stamp sets and were playing with them. And it's funny how the photopolymer stamps, or even these because they're sticky now, would stick to the back of a stamp case, an ink pad, the Stamparatus. I mean, you name it. They were sticking all over the place. So as I was cleaning up, I was able to go, okay, we're missing one. Where'd it go? And the kids crawling around on the floor looking for things. Now, I'm going to color the little snail. I'm going to use my Stampin' Blends. And you guys know I usually start out with the dark. And I put it in the shadows. And then I come back in with the light and I go right over the dark and blend it out. And you do it quickly while it's still wet. And of course, we've got the both ends. So there's the brush tip and then the bullet tip. Bermuda Bay. So I use Crumb Cake, Real Red, and now we're on Bermuda Bay. The key to it blending well is to work quickly and lay down lots of ink. It's actually going to bleed all the way through to the back. Don't worry about that. That's expected. That's why we're working on our grid paper. If by some chance you're going, ooh, you know, I did that, it blended really well, but it's too dark, you can come in with the color lifter and you can give it just a little bit of highlight and it'll lift some of that color off. And so it won't be quite so dark. And it uses on all the colors. So if the tip gets, you know, any color on it, you just wipe it on your desk until it's clear. Oh, and I wanted to tell you guys, I told Wendy earlier, I'm working on a website for my husband's laser business. We actually opened up a Shopify store. So you know that my blog is queenbeecreations.net. .com used to point to my Etsy store, but now it's going to point to his Shopify store. And I'm going to have my cards on there as well as his laser engraved items. And I figured out today how to add on customization. So if you order one of the tumblers and you want to put your logo on it or your name or, you know, a special design, we can now do that and it will be able to be ordered through the website. And then he's also been working on some things for my Stampin' Studio. One of the things I had him add was this little brush holder. You know, a couple weeks ago, we worked on a card for my Facebook Live where we use these little brushes because Stampin' Up! Has now come out with some, and they're actually a little bigger. I like our Stampin' Up! Brushes better. I don't know if you can see, but they're a little bigger. So these are the ones out of a Stampin' Up! Catalog. These are some cheap ones I had before we sold them. And then this is the holder. And you can see it will come all flat. It's not falling apart. It comes apart on purpose so that I can mail it flat in the envelope. When you get it, you would just push the sides together. And I'm mentioning all of this because Wendy ordered one. See, it's got her logo on the side. And then you would just put the puzzle together. Really simple. Works best when you can be on top of it looking down from an angle. It's kind of wonky, but there we go. So now Wendy knows how to put hers together. Okay, we need our circles. So I'm going to bring in our mini cut and emboss. Our mini plates, and then I've got some cardstock and our layering circles dies. The little pockets actually, and these magnetic sheets, these come from Stampin' Storage, and so you can get those through my blog as well. It's just a magnetic sheet, holds all the dies, slides into this little holder that has a tab. And then I was saying there's a little bit of a trick with the lining up the pads. One of the things they suggested was to have them come in at kind of an angle. So as I layer this up, I'm going to angle the pads. It's supposed to make it easier to grab. Because there were some people who said that they got one of these and they loved it. It's nice and small, doesn't take up much room on the desk, works with a lot of our dies, but they were having trouble getting it to feed through. And so adjusting the plates so they go at an angle like that is very helpful. I mentioned I was going to show you the little envelope. So here's our envelope die. The mini die cutting machine works great for people who are just getting started that aren't maybe sure that they want to invest the money in the large Big Shot or the large Stamp and Cut machine, so that they can get started on kind of a smaller scale. Also for those with a small desk or who like to travel with their craft supplies, because it is nice and tiny, doesn't take up much room. And I understand it fits in a lunch bag. Those of us that, or those of you who are on my team might want to look in the Stampin' Up! Demo supplies, because we have a Stampin' Up! Lunch bag that apparently just fits that little machine. This was how I came together with that envelope on the front of my card, which I sat on my desk and promptly disappeared. But it's just a little envelope that goes together. And then I used one of the hearts out of the die set. It comes with a couple of them. And I put a heart in the center to hold my envelope shut. Here it is. It was underneath the die cuts. Go figure, huh? So that's this little guy here. For these, I'm going to add Old Olive. Ah, okay. Yeah, Melinda, try the staggered plates. Make you a bet that makes it a whole lot easier to work with. Like I said, that's my goal. If you guys ever get something from Stampin' Up! And you're frustrated and think it doesn't work the way it's supposed to, please give me a call. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you guys figure these things out, because usually it's just something simple. And if it's not, Stampin' Up! Has the best warranty I've ever seen, and they're really good about replacing stuff if it indeed does not work properly. This is Daffodil Delight. Okay, there we go, all colored up. The one thing I want to point out, you guys want to remember, as you're attaching this to the front of your card, you want to make sure that your snail inside is already stamped, so that you can see where he lays and you're not going to cover him up. And then we're only going to put adhesive on this side of our die cut because we don't want to glue the card shut. So as we look at it, we're going to be really careful to know we're only going to put glue on that side. And then if we just hold it for a few seconds, it grabs hold and we're done. So that was it. That was today's card using the Snailed It stamp set and dies. Thank you for joining me. This was our sample card I made, and then this is the one we made during our little class. So I hope you guys like it and you can give it a try. Like I said, I did it with the Snailed It stamp set, but there's nothing saying you couldn't do this kind of fold with any designer series paper and any images out there. You just want to be sure that if you're putting like a happy birthday or something, that you're placing it in the background so that it gets covered up by the front, since some of it gets exposed. And one of the ways you can do that, if you're, thinking, oh, I'm not that talented, I couldn't do that, is you can take and put a little line around it with a pencil, because pencils are erasable. You can put this, around here and just give yourself an idea of where it's going to go. And then you can stamp straight in the middle. Thanks for joining me. Bye.